Thank you very much to those of you who've stuck with us throughout day one. This will be your last panel of the day, and then you will be dismissed to whatever libations, food that you plan to take. Now, the title of this, our last panel, is called Finland's Ongoing Strategic Readjustment, and I'm very pleased to be joined by Heikki Autto. He is chair of the Defense Committee in the Finnish Parliament, and by Johannes Koskinen. He is chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Now, these committees, of course, are not always on the same page. In Finland, of course, there was this incredible convergence of views when it came to the idea of joining Finland. I watched the debate, which went on for hours and hours and hours and hours, and tested my Finnish to its maximum capacity, making the decision to join. But one of the things I'm curious to hear from both of you chairs is that since Finland joined, and it was a remarkably rapid process, bills have come due, and bigger bills all the time, including just in June. And I'm wondering, as two people who are quite close to the population, who need re-election and things like this, unlike some of the people making these decisions, now that there is this 5% budget and that Finland's economy has been struggling a bit, is there less enthusiasm about being part of NATO? It's going to be quite expensive, and some countries, Sweden seems to be able to come up with its budget easier than Finland at the moment, but everybody is going to have to come up with the same percentage, 3.5% spent directly on defense and then 1.5% in related spending. So I don't mind which of you wants to go first. You can just volunteer. Do you feel that, as we're talking about a continuing strategic readjustment, how are Finns feeling after 2 years in NATO?
Well,
you took a breath, you can go first.
Yeah, if you let me go first. The will to defend country is so strong that support for NATO is also strong. Just to give you an example, we just yesterday started the hearings for the new legislation to higher the age limit, how long you can belong to the reserve of the military, because for the average soldier it has been 50 years and for the officers it has been 60 years. And now we will higher it to 65. And that's because the reservists themselves have demanded the government to higher the limit. So of course we will give them the opportunity to serve. But this kind of highlights the will to defend, and I believe many reservists think that they will also take part in NATO operations. We will have free willing people to do that if necessary. So no problem with the support yet. And also the expenditure that we have to put in building up the defense will have a strong support among the people. People understand that there are also many societal benefits of having high defense expenditure. It's not wasted money in case of Finland, where we have the idea of comprehensive security and total defense.
It's true. It's almost too easy to talk to Finns about this because literally there is very little opposition to doing these things on behalf of your own national defense. Is that the same way from your perspective and your party and perhaps your constituents?
Well, the support of NATO membership has maintained a high rating, but there hasn't been yet an exact poll on this defense spending according to the NATO decisions. But I think it is, of course, a majority, but maybe not as high numbers as the support of NATO membership. We must think of all the austerity measures that the current government has done, and the finance policies of the government are not so popular, and people see that it is difficult to have these increasing numbers of military spending at the same time as we have to reduce support for poor families or certain sectors of society like education and so on. But and also, of course, this 1.5% share of this spending for the comprehensive security, it gives that kind of flexibility that is needed in our politics to have wider support of this NATO decision. But as a whole, I think it is easier for Finnish people to understand the needs of strengthening European defence, and hopefully we have support from the EU financing tools to reach these quite ambitious targets.
And perhaps the austerity measures had been started already before the new NATO budget or the new NATO spending requirements were adopted. Perhaps people don't see what is going to be taken away as a direct consequence of what needs to be spent on defense. In other countries, it very much is seen as a direct line between, no more spending on climate change and higher spending on defense in the southern European countries, for example.
And at the moment, of course, Finnish economy has taken a great hit of the war. And although it hasn't been maybe as bad hit directly, but through German economy, for example, Germany has really suffered from the war. And of course, we have at the same time. And now people see that this building the defense in Europe is opening actually job opportunities and business opportunities in Finland, where we have quite strong defense industries. And our defense industries can provide especially that kind of equipment and weaponry the European ground forces in all the NATO countries in Europe need at the moment. So this, I believe the large audience in Finland also understands the idea that when our own military is spending more, it opens our industries also possibilities to do business.
And here's another thing that just strikes my ear, being that I'm in Brussels and I hear many countries speak. You pointed out that it is a direct hit because of the war. There would be other countries that would say because of what we have to spend on defense. And this again is just so Finnish, that you understand that this is because of the war Russia is waging on Ukraine. It is not because of what you have to do to protect yourself against it. So that would be normal in Finland. It wouldn't even strike probably most people's as unusual here in this room. But I can tell you in Brussels, that's not the
And then
view.
one thing you could take to Brussels from here is that we have spent billions and billions and billions every year to be resilient and to be strong and to be able to defend ourselves and to be ready when something like this happens in Europe. So that's why when you look at statistics in Brussels, somebody might seem that, okay, well, Finland wasn't dependent on Russian energy, Finland wasn't dependent on trade with Russia and so on. So let's make them pay everybody else's, preparedness now. But, we have already paid our fair share, and now it has to be the other way around, that European Union, for example, is supporting us now as we are the frontline nation, although the direct hit of the war hasn't been as great as it has been maybe in Germany or other places.
And I just read that Finland is definitely going to join the side of the frugals again, who are against taking on joint debt for defense spending.
Or the government is planning to do that.
Sorry, I should.
But I think it's important to notice that also NATO is a different organization compared to that for 3 years ago. Not only this spending target, but also this new kind of unpredictability of our major NATO ally and all the changes that has occurred in the United States. And in that sense, there is a slight threat that this support of NATO would, in certain circumstances, go lower. But for the moment, it's not there. And I think it's important for Finland also that this reform of NATO is accepted and implemented in all over Europe and European member states.
What do you mean by reform? The higher defense spending?
Yeah, and the new defense planning of NATO. It's a completely different and more ambitious targets than there were a few years ago.
Well, you're written into the plans for one thing.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
And then we come into the organization during this very huge transformation period, and in that sense, I know it is good for Finland, of course, that there is a lot of the Finnish model that NATO wants to follow comprehensive security ideas and also this better defense capabilities compared to the land aerial we have. And of course this Finnish conscription army system has made it possible to have wider investments in equipment in our defense capabilities than would have been the case if we should have paid huge amounts of salaries to army soldiers.
And it's not just NATO, it's also the European Union. I
Yep.
tell everybody here that constantly, Suomi-kuva is still a thing, and everyone's asking me, how do they talk about us back in Brussels? And at the moment, it's, I would say, almost completely positive. You are the model in terms of self-defense, but also in terms of civil preparedness and resilience, and everyone is talking about the Finnish model, and they kind of say, okay, well, we'll never get to the Finland level, but maybe we can aim for, I won't give other countries' names, but this is what people are aiming at, talking about, well, in Finland they do this, so can't you at least stock 3 days of water? This is the kind of discussion that we're having in Brussels now. Really not kidding. I mean, in Belgium there are no such plans, even after all the worries. We've never had a conversation about having some food in the basement or something like this. So the Finland model is stretches across both sides of town down in Brussels.
And of course, when we need solidarity inside NATO and inside EU, it's good to have this 360 degrees of scope for the southern European countries also to understand that there are other needs than threats from Russia to have better defense and comprehensive security systems.
Let's do, Johannes, could I just have you fix your mic a little, pull your mic up a little bit? It's scratching on your thing. Okay, there, that's good. Okay, sorry about that. So I had one question about that maybe both of you can answer, or maybe it's only for you, Heikki. Given the incidents of the last week with the drone incursion to Poland, we keep returning to it, but Finland has decided to stay out of the International Drone Coalition. Do you know about this? I don't know if that was a decision at any level that was discussed in Parliament, but I mean, it's the Nordic countries, the Baltic countries, and then you guys are out. And I'm just wondering why that is, if this was a discussion in Parliament.
Well, there are many coalitions in helping Ukraine. And of course, already now the war has been going on almost 4 years, and Ukraine is at least 4 years ahead of other countries in drone warfare.
Surely.
So it's the other way around, that it's Ukraine that is helping others to build understanding and build capabilities in drone activities. And Finland and Ukraine have a strong companionship in many fields, and especially in drones. So I can assure everybody here that we won't be lagging behind, and we will do our utmost also in drones to help also Ukraine if there is something we can give them during the most difficult time they are experiencing. So I think this is all in order, and this for some reason is a bigger hassle in the public than it should be at the moment.
So is this something that's discussed among the Finns, that it would be odd to be out of this particular coalition?
Well, I don't think there has been a discussion like that. We are in those coalitions where we can do the most to help the Ukrainians, and I don't think there has been a debate about this specific coalition, but we are doing good cooperation when it comes to drones with Ukraine.
Another thing I noticed just reading the headlines about Finland is that the Institute for the Study of War has just in the last couple of days put out a new alert that Russia appears to be targeting Finland again with a disinformation campaign. Now, they should have learned in the past that it kind of hits a brick wall when it comes to Finland, right? Because of media literacy and counter-disinfo training from very young ages. But apparently they're trying again. Is this something that you have seen reflected in news headlines, in any sort of campaigns that have come to light here?
Not actually. We have, of course, a very small minority of Finns in the social media who are fighting another age of wars, but it's very, very small activist groups which have that kind of a Russian-friendly attitude. But of course, they have new methods, and we have to be careful looking at what they are aiming at, and also have countermeasures.
And is that something that Parliament continually raises? Because often the Parliament is actually where these targets take place. They even cyber attacks even shut down the Finnish Parliament's internet system. I don't know if it's regularly, but it's happened more than once.
Well, this hybrid war is now the new normal. It's sad, but it's the new normal, and it's, hybrid attacks, cyber attacks, it's information warfare, but it's also sabotage and all kinds of things. And of course, the Russians are trying to find different weak points and, for example, loopholes in the legislation and international treaties, and we have to be very vigilant to be ahead of them, to make sure that they cannot, reach their goals, whatever they might have with their hybrid activities. But we are vigilant, so don't worry.
And you're also ahead in some things. I've even come to do stories on the fact that Finland alone has been willing to confiscate Russian properties, Russian state-owned properties, to pay off debts that have been incurred by Russia. I mean, this is something that I don't know if it's widely known, but your courts have ordered Russian state properties seized to pay off Russia's debts. I mean, this is a microcosm of what we're talking about doing with some of the Russian seized assets, and Finland has in fact already done this. Do you think that this is, would you like to see this as yet another Finnish model taken by other countries where there are Russian state properties?
Well, of course, and this would be one of the best sanctions to put on Russia.
Exactly.
To start to also use the Russian capital, and the way they have constructed via their oligarchy the whole thing, how they have their assets placed all around Europe is one form of the hybrid war, and we have to understand that, and we need to have very multiple tools in our toolkit to be able to react to this. But yes, I'm glad that Finland is a front runner in this question as well.
I think you're the only country that's done it, just according to my research.
It seems so.
Okay.
I'm sad about that. But,
well, it's true.
But we are a country of strict legality, and of course these individual assets which have been confiscated, so they have happened according to the international law. And with this huge amount of Russian assets, we still need kind of a creative international law to be able to confiscate them from these frozen 300 billion. So in that sense, I hope that there will be good cooperation between G7 countries, EU, to find these international legal tools.
Well, in Brussels, it's being discussed, and they're finding ways around Hungary at this very moment. Well, probably not Saturday, but yesterday they were, and next week they will. And it looks like there is going to be movement on that. And I know that that's something that the government of Finland is in favor of. So yet another way that Finland is leading the way. Just a final thought, because we are wrapping up and everybody is going to get to go to dinner. Speaking for the Finnish population, the citizens, as both of you are representatives, what is the most important thing that you want your people to know? I mean, and we talk a lot about Finland, how Finland looks to the rest of the world, but what's important for Finns to know going forward if they're going to deal with austerity measures, if they're going to see some cuts that may not be comfortable in everyday life? What do they need to know moving forward about the decisions you're taking?
First of all, there is no conventional threat. War is not threatening Finland. But of course, we have to be vigilant, and we have to put emphasis on building up our defense, and do that also as an example for the whole alliance. But NATO, we all together are so strong that nothing threatens us. But at the same time, we have to support Ukrainians, because they have a just fight for their own country and for their nation. And this is just the right thing to do, but it's also good for the European economy, because otherwise, as long as we have war going on in the heart of Europe, we cannot turn the economy. So this is also a good investment for the future now to put emphasis on defense.
That's a good connection. And Johannes, from the foreign affairs side?
While we'll have this very difficult financial decisions in front of us, so I think it's important to maintain the cohesion and inclusion of the societies, both in each nation and at the European Union level. So then these difficult funding decisions may be more widely accepted, and so we'll be ready to go further. And of course, we have the same kind of policy lines in NATO and EU to strengthen this defense, so it's important.
And for the first time since I've lived in Brussels, and that's more than 15 years, they really are working together on this, the EU and NATO. So it's a good time to be a member of both clubs. All right, well, that is going to wrap it up for us here on stage, and for all of you in the audience. Again, thank you for being here, and we will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'm sure.
Thank you.
Oh, that went too fast.